Alright, so grab your art supply and pause the class, and when you are ready, just press the play button and let's begin. So let's start the very first class project, and this is going to be the simplest one. I'm using this block from Watercolor paper and two colors, Cerulean Blue and Crimson Lake. I don't really need to tape the paper because it's already stuck to the block and it won't curl up when I use water and color on it. But if you are using loose paper, you should definitely tape it to the surface to prevent curling up. And I am taping it here because I want a nice, clean and crisp border around my painting. So here are the brushes I'm going to be using. This is 3x8 flat brush from Princeton. This is round brush number 5 and this one is round brush number 3. And I'll be using this quill mop brush for making the surface wet because this is going to be a wet on wet. So let's begin with spreading water uniformly on the paper. While wetting the paper, make sure you don't overdo it. Just observe a nice sheen on the paper and that's it. We don't have to make the paper soaking wet. We just need this sheen. I don't know whether you are able to see it or not, but when you are doing it yourself, just see that there's a shine on the paper and that's it. That's the amount of water we need before starting. So now let's begin painting. I am applying Cerulean Blue first, a very light coat. I am going to give it a feel of early morning or evening. There's no much difference between morning and evening actually. So a very light gradient of Cerulean Blue, and then I'll be mixing up some pink in this. It's Crimson Lake, but I'll be using very light value of the same to get a nice very light purple kind of a feel. If you want, you can leave the sky like this, like the uniform purplish tone, or if you want, you can add some streaks of purple or pink as per your choice. Like I'm going to use light streaks of crimson. This color right now looks very dark, but after drying it will become very light, because watercolor does dry lighter. And that's it. I'm not going to overdo this. This is perfect. Now let this layer dry, and when it's completely dry, we'll work on the next layer. This is completely dried. You see this light pink cloud? I really like it. If you want it darker, you can make it darker. Now I'm mixing pink and blue to get really light purple. And with my number 5 round brush, I am making these abstract buildings just drawing straight lines of different sizes, different heights, just to give an expression of buildings far, far away from where we are looking at the picture. All right. So we'll just keep doing this, and layer after layer we will keep making the color darker and just making some more and some more and some more buildings. Now I'll just smoothen this part, the base of it, by applying some water like that. I have kept the video in real time, but you can choose a faster speed if you want to. Now let's mix darker value of purple for the next layer of buildings, and with the same brush I'm going to start here. Let's give it some different shape this time, like a tower or something. Yeah. And again, adjacent to this star, we'll make some more buildings, but this time darker purple. At any point of time, if you feel that both the clusters of buildings are looking the same color, you can always darken the buildings which are closer to you and give it the feel of depth, like I'm doing it here. After painting, I felt that the color was almost the same, so I'm just making it darker. And also, I hope you've already noticed that this second cluster of buildings I am making, they are smaller in size as compared to the previous cluster, just to give the illusion of far and near. And again, I will just smooth the base using some water, and we'll start mixing the color for the next layer. Every time you mix the color, make sure to make it darker than the previous one. Alright, I am keeping it more on the blue side, but it's up to you. You can keep it more on the pink side and less on the blue side. It's purple, but it can always be a bluish purple or pinkish purple. So I am keeping it more of bluish purple as of now. So here I am making another tower with the same brush. I have not used the flat brush yet. I'm going to fill it up, and then we'll make more building around this tallest tower. As you see, the surface was not completely dried. It was still wet and I painted over it, and that was a big mistake. Now the color is not behaving the way I wanted it to, and you can see these patches, but never mind, we can fix this mistake later on when this layer completely dries. And see, when I'm trying to make it darker, it's becoming even worse. So I'm showing this step to you just to tell you that don't do that. Don't add more water, more color on this layer. Just leave it to dry and we can fix it later. Alright, so here I am using a darker value of purple, and just so on paper I felt it was more pink, so I added more blue to it. And see, the more color I'm applying on that partly wet, partly dried surface, it's making the painting even worse. The paint is spreading in a way I didn't want it to, and it's not looking nice, it's looking ugly, but we will fix it and I'll show you how to fix it. Alright, let's move on and paint around it and leave that area as it is. And this time I'm going to really wait for it to dry, or I will use hair dryer to make it completely dry. If you want to use a hair dryer, you can also do that, or else you can just pause the video and wait for your painting to dry. And it has completely dried, and I have started painting again. The same thing, buildings with the darker value of purple around this tower, and I am decreasing the height of the buildings in every layer, and I am making them broader in every layer, and I am also increasing the value of the color in every layer. So the same thing, but this time I'm using the flat brush so that it becomes easier and faster. And because it's just the repetition of the same step again and again, if you want, you can just increase the speed of the video. Alright, so let's finish this. And here, when it's completely dried, I am going ahead and painting this tower with the darker value of purple. See, and now one can't say that we had really goofed up in the previous layer. Now again, I will let this layer dry, and when it's dried, I'll start painting again. So this is the second last layer of the painting. Almost. We'll see while we reach the end how it goes. So according to me right now, it's the second last layer of the painting. After this, we'll be using the darkest value of our purple, and we'll keep it almost opaque. So less water and more paint in it. We can always touch up the layers we think look lighter and we want to make them darker. We can always do that. It's always suggested to, take a break while you're painting and go far and look at your painting and then decide what more is needed. Like, see, this layer of buildings, I have added this layer after adding the 3 layers of buildings, and when the painting was drying, I just thought that the lightest layer I have made is not clearly visible. So I need another layer for the depth of field. So I just added the lightest lavender there. You can see very thin looking buildings. Now just covering the bottom, making it dark, and again I'll let this dry. Now this has also dried, and I am starting with the last layer of buildings, so much lower than the previous layer. And as you see, the paint almost looks like black, but it's not black. It's the darkest value of purple I have made, and I have kept it opaque as I told you. There's less water and more color in it, almost making it opaque. And I'll just go on making straight lines with my flat brush, and we are almost done with this one. As I said, you can always touch up and make things darker wherever you want. I think the tallest tower here needs to be little more dark. I want to bring it to the foreground. So I'll go ahead and paint on top of it. It's completely dried now, so it's safe to paint on it. And I'm not going to make the same mistake I made earlier. So here it is. And yeah, that was a good decision. What do you think? That's it. That's the magic of art. We just shifted a whole tower in the foreground. And with this step, we are done. Just wait for this to dry and then we'll remove the tape. I am not waiting because I really want to see the final result. So here I am removing the tape. And that's it. This is the final look. Isn't it beautiful? Well done, guys. You've just finished the first project. Let's move on to the next one.